Welcome to the Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, regular City Council meeting. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Weir.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Clements.
Here.
DeWater.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
May I have a motion to approve the February 4th, 2025 agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 5 is public comment. Any of you would like to speak publicly, just please come up to the podium. Okay. Number 6 is approval of the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7 is approval of the resolution calendar. I'll take a motion to approve the res of bills.
So moved.
Second.
And there'll be a roll call.
Weir.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Clements.
Yes.
DeWater.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Number 8 is we received a request from Planning and Zoning Commission to increase number of board members from 5 to 7. I believe Scott Strader is going to be speaking to that this evening.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
A few months ago, the Planning and Zoning took a vote in one of the meetings about increasing it from 5 back up to 7, because we feel 7 gives a much more diverse number in there. And one person has some health concerns, and he wanted it to go to 7 because if he gets a transplant, he's not going to be there for a while, and he knows there'll be enough people to cover for him. And also, Planning and Zoning was never consulted about the size shrinkage of it. And I know we could get enough people to fill the board up to 7. Anyone have any questions?
I do. Since we voted and had it shrunk down to 5, how many meetings have there been?
I'm gonna say maybe half a dozen.
That was actually in March, that it was an ordinance. We started that process in February of last year. And the final reading was in March. It went through all 3 readings.
Okay. Okay, so if there's been 6 meetings, how many have established a quorum?
There was one that did not have a quorum that I can think of off the top of my head, because some people did not get their packet. It was emailed to them, they didn't receive one in the mail. And they hadn't checked their email, and we didn't have a quorum that time, but other than that, we've had a quorum.
Okay. I mean, not discrediting the guy that has a health concern. You know, maybe it might behoove him to step down if he's that concerned about it, but at the same time, what is it that you think that you can't do with 5 that you could do with 7?
Just have a little more diversity in the board, more age variance, different backgrounds of people, to get better input on things.
Okay. It was just I guess the reason I felt the way I did when we voted to go to the 5, I was asked to be on that board and was on it for a year and never once, well, there was once that a meeting might have happened, but then it got canceled like the day that I got the information. So I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, with what I had known about P&Z and not being able to meet because it couldn't get a quorum, I guess I thought it was doing them a favor, making 5 be the benchmark so we can get at least 3 together. So I don't know that you can really accomplish much more. I understand having, different points of view. I get that.
Yeah, when you were on there was 2 people that never missed a meeting that weren't on the board anymore, so.
I'm not in favor of it. We had talked for how many years about switching it back to 5. many, many years. So it wasn't a snap decision. And, I don't know, you know, the consensus usually was, if the council is only made up of 5, why would one of our advisory boards need 7? It just makes no sense to me.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Certainly.
Okay, why you went back to 5, I really don't know, but you know, this is a board that is strictly volunteer, this is costing you guys nothing. You know, I would think that it would behoove you guys to keep the board happy on what they would like to do. Maybe you might be looking for a whole lot more people to serve on that board. You ever think of that?
John, are you saying that adding 2 more members, when you can barely get
I was on that
quorums
board, I
and-
was on that for 20-some years. We always had 7 members. Was that a problem? If we could fill the amount of people, is that a problem?
If you could get quorums,
Yeah, most of the time, we always had a quorum with 7.
yeah. And, so kinda echoing what Adam said, how is 7 gonna do you better than 5?
It's something the board would like to have. They'd like to have more diversity on that board. You got 5 people, you know, you can get 5 people, and if you get the wrong 2 people in there, you can't get nothing across. Think about it.
Well,
We've had that with the council for a good number of years, I'll guarantee you
no, I
that.
don't know, you know, diversity is a dirty word nowadays.
It is, yeah, everything's a dirty word anymore. But think about it, I mean, you wanna keep the board happy, it's volunteer. What's it costing you? It's costing you nothing. Absolutely nothing. And if that's gonna make the board happy, I would think you guys be tickled to death to have 7 people on there, if you get 7 people on it.
If you're asking to have donuts at your meeting, I would be
That's
more
not
inclined.
donuts, come on, fella,
Well,
come
I am
on.
too. It
Come
makes
on.
about as much sense.
No, it does not.
It does to
Makes a
me.
lot of sense to keep the board happy. Thank you.
I feel like all of our boards here in Evansdale are volunteer. They're all 5-member. And if boards like the park board and the library board, who deal with things like budgets and staff, can do their job with 5 people, I think that's proven to be, you know, a successful number.
I guess my thoughts are, with a 7-member board, in order to have a quorum, you have to have 5 people attending, which now that it's a 5-member board is perfect attendance. So if there's people who are unable to come on a 5-member board, you can still get your business done with 3 members. And as far as having input, the public is open to come to the meetings to give their input if you want more diverse opinions. But it doesn't take 7 voting members to accomplish something with that diversity. You can get the input without having to be a 7-member board, I guess is what I'm saying. So a 5-member board seems much more practical, and a lot of communities have 5-member boards.
Can you tell me why it's 7 members for probably 40 years?
A lot of things were done in the olden days that just maybe fit at the time, but don't always need to stay that way.
Well, so Scott, I don't want to put you on the spot, but, you're chairman,
Yes.
and you are in agreement that it should be expanded to 7?
Yes.
Or just because you were asked to do it?
Well, we had a discussion in there and we all agreed that it would be good. And like I said, I'd like some diversity in people's backgrounds. You know, you could have somebody with realty or somebody with road repair, road building knowledge, you know. Get some background so we get some more input from somebody that has made a living doing that rather than 5 people just guessing at it.
Okay.
I guess at surface level,
surface value, I'm impartial to what the number is, 5, 7, 9, 11, just simply because my again, my opinion, I guess, out of a 1 out of the 5 council is, as long as the business is being conducted and we get results from it. So I was in favor of moving it down from 7 to 5 because business wasn't getting completed. We couldn't get things done. We couldn't get things moved. If the request is saying, hey, we've been able to have a quorum, we'd like to add it in, and this is our reasoning, considering the cost is the other side, considering there's not a cost to it, I'm impartial at the number, playing devil's advocate a little bit here. So to me, it really doesn't matter as long as we know a quorum is held and we can get business conducted.
Has anyone ever considered having auxiliary members that could fill in when you don't have a quorum?
I personally have not. I didn't know that was an option.
I say, is that possible?
Never heard of that before, because it's an appointed board. It's appointed by council.
But you know, if you had a couple people that you could call, if they weren't showed up, and they could fill in and have the right to vote, you'd have a quorum every time you have it.
One thing that works handy now, in fact, we're using it tonight, where a member can't physically be here, but they can participate by phone. So that,
That's not possible.
but sometimes it is.
And we've done that in planning and zoning before also.
That's what I mean.
So, and we've talked about this before, that the city requires, for a 5-member board, a quorum to be 3. Because I had suggested, I think, previously, that the quorum that it be worded that a quorum is the majority of those in attendance. So it could be as few as 3 people, and 2 to be a quorum.
I mean, I think those are rules through that have
Well,
been.
it seemed like that's what
A
came up
quorum is
before.
it's a state code, it's,
Yeah, that seemed like that could have been
yeah,
the
that's
discussion.
governed by, not us. Well, I'm open for, if you guys want to just table this and, maybe go so many meetings and readdress it, that's totally up to you, council.
I think just my feelings, at the present time, tabling it, I don't really see a real good reason to reverse our decision that we made. It was to make it so that stuff could move, like Justin said. In light of what Sandy said, I really thought what you said was really well put, that you're gonna have other people in the room, and if somebody hears something totally off, I'm sure they're gonna speak up. So it's not that you won't have, advisement coming in. And it's not that I don't wanna make the board happy, it's just, we made a decision based on all the information we had, and I think for now, we should stick with it, and maybe revisit it later with, meetings with quorums and see what we come up with.
I'll take a motion for ordinance 699, changing the member of the Planning and Zoning Committee from 7 to 5, would stand at this time.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, Resolution 6923. First, I'd like to introduce David with Bolton and Mink. He had stated that he had a presentation. Go ahead.
Just in case we needed to talk through anything on the computer.
What's that?
Just the computer's just in case we needed to visualize anything.
Okay.
to talk through.
Yeah, if you want to come up to the podium. He is here regarding Resolution 6923, 24, and 25. These are resolutions that actually none of us were aware of until last week. And they're going hand in hand with some things that we were looking to do with the project moving forward. But there's been a lot of questions regarding those resolutions.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
David is here to answer those questions.
Yeah.
First, we'll start with Resolution 6923, change order 1 in the amount of 17,803.
Yeah. So that one was to obtain the DNR water and sewer permit. Due to where the Arby's sits now, there used to be a gas station, and that tank is marked as one of the DNR's leaking underground storage tanks. And so in order to obtain that water permit, we had to do a material change for some of the pipes within that 500-foot radius. So that's what prompted that one, was direction from the DNR that we would not be allowed to put water main underground without switching materials.
Did it switch from like regular to ductile
Yeah,
or?
exactly. So it
Okay.
went from PVC to ductile iron with nitrile gaskets. So,
Okay,
So just DNR's request that, so
And
that's
that
what,
just prevents stuff from seeping into the pipe,
Exactly.
essentially?
exactly. So
Okay.
if something's marked as a leaking underground storage tank, just for public safety, they switch to a better material to keep any potential contaminants out of that, water supply, so.
So
That
we,
must have been a really old gas station, because
Yeah.
I don't remember it,
I think
and I'm old.
I think it was a road runner at one point, and on some of the older aerials, you can see the outline of where the tanks used to sit. But something that you may not notice right off the bat, but the DNR is gonna know, so. So that's where that change was prompted, and the kind of the reasonings behind that alteration from the initial plans.
so we really don't have a choice in this, is what you're saying? They've dictated that?
Yeah, the DNR controls the water distribution aspect of it, and so
Okay.
in order to legally get the permit from them, you have to meet their requirements, especially when it comes to health and public safety on water distribution.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was that
let's go.
something that was not originally identified in the blueprints or the initial workups?
It was not originally identified on this one. Most of the time, leaking underground storage tanks aren't looked for until you get to the permitting stage. Unfortunately, that's usually pretty late in the design. Once all the pieces are kind of ironed out of what lays where. It would have been great to have caught that well ahead of time, but yeah, this one really only showed itself once we filed for the DNR water permit.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and approve these as we go. Number 9 is Resolution 6923, approving change order 1 in the amount of 17,803 with Rotjay Construction.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weir,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes,
Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 6924, approving change order 2 in the amount of 10,500 with Rotjay Construction. And initially, back in September, we as a council had approved to move forward with doing the extended infrastructure for the new lots in Eagles Landing, and just being proactive, instead of just scrubbing out the little kind of diamond area. They did it all the way to where the roadway would be, just beyond the intersection of Eagles Landing Parkway and Eagle View Road.
That one was, if we had the contractor leave site and then mobilize back in, they were gonna charge us, I'm not sure exactly how much more, but as a cost-saving measure, knowing that to serve those lots, I guess, east of that extension of Doris Drive, if we were gonna serve those without obtaining more easements to have one owner's water service and sewer service crossing through another owner's, those were areas that those big trees would have to be removed in order to get pipe installed. So that's where that one was generated out of.
Questions, council?
I move passage of Resolution 6924.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weir,
Yes.
Smock, Clements,
Yes.
DeWater.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 6925, approving change order number 3 in the amount of $22,914 with Rotjay Construction.
So this one popped up when we went to install the new sanitary that would go down, that extension of Doris, what is now Doris Drive north of there. So as they went to extend the sanitary sewer, they realized that the pipe they were tying onto that's connected to the existing structure was an 8-inch pipe instead of a 10-inch pipe. The plans call out 10-inch pipe for this entire new project, which is upsized. 8 is typical for your residential areas, but with potential industrial or heavy use, the 10-inch was added to increase capacity, and so it doesn't make sense for us to put a 10-inch into an 8-inch, kind of negating that extra capacity that you would get. So this pulled out the 8-inch pipe that was installed in phase 1 to the structure where 10-inch is now run, and that 8-inch was reused to stub out to the northeast for if and when sanitary sewer was ever extended to serve those lots to the east. So in order to do this, they had to rip up some pavement, connect the pipe back on in the correct size, and then it'll end up replacing that pavement that they removed as well.
Should that have been 10-inch from the beginning? What changed?
It should have been 10-inch from the beginning. It was 10-inch in the phase 1 plans. I was not involved with the project before this, but somehow an 8-inch pipe got installed out of that manhole from phase 1.
Should we be looking at whoever installed that for some compensation?
Yeah, and we can look into that and make those phone calls and see what we can track down.
So the plans called for 10 and they installed 8?
Correct.
Okay, because I wasn't aware of that either.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I definitely think that should get tracked down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that, which should be tracked down. And
yeah, absolutely.
That out of the 3, this was the one that kind of caught my attention the most of if the plans call for it and it was wrong, well, then we need to go back and talk to whoever
Yep.
did it wrong, is where I kind of have that impression at this moment. And if that incorrect, or what we're calling wrong installation is costing us an additional $20,000,
Yep.
I do have an issue with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll track that down, find out.
that
what
was
happened.
Dave Schmidt Construction who did that project.
All right. Yeah, and I can work with Adrian to get a meeting set up or track down exactly what went wrong in that situation. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would request that we then therefore table Resolution 6925, approving that change order
I'll make that motion.
till
Second.
further discussion.
Yes.
And can you do the roll call, please?
Weir,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Any more questions for David while he's here? They may have additional questions on item 15.
yeah, anything I can help clarify or clear up.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you, David. Resolution 6926 is authorizing pay application 22 to Woodruff Construction in the amount of $29,108.67 for the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weir,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 6927 is approving change order number 6 to Woodruff Construction in the amount of $3,372.60 for the wastewater treatment plant project.
This is for the ladder and the protective railing.
This was
that right?
actually for, no, the ladder and protective railing, they're actually gonna do under equipment, because they still had a budget item budget line item for that.
Okay, thank
This is actually for the insulation above the blowers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'd make motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weir,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 6928, approving the Quick Trip, Quick Star site plan for the Eagles Landing Trucking Center. Planning and zoning did also look at that. I didn't know if anyone was interested in their comments regarding that. And if you had any questions for Quick Trip, we could get them on the phone at this time.
I think it's worth hearing P and Z's findings. That's what we've got them for.
Yeah, correct. They had approved the resolution to, for the review for Quick Trip, Quick Star, civil plans, stormwater calculations, building canopy elevations, sign plans for Eagles Landing Trucking Center. The commission recommends that the council review the stormwater responsibilities of the hazardous waste runoff from parking lot and property and the public utility and drainage easement to avoid future need to relocate said utilities. We do have, in response to that, I just wanted to state, we do have a stormwater management program in the city of Evansdale, and all these items would be covered in that.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.
Scott, is there anything in particular P and Z wanted us to be aware of?
What we picked up on the stormwater is the stormwater drains to a pond. And it says in the notes that the city of Evansdale is responsible for that pond and maintaining it. And our concern is you have 80 tractor trailers all dripping oil, antifreeze and everything else. If that pond gets contaminated, according to that verbiage, the city of Evansdale has to take care of it. And if Quickstar doesn't manage their parking lot and all that runoff goes in there and contaminates that, that's gonna be a big expense to the taxpayers of Evansdale to have that cleaned up. Cause I know the DNR has had talks of testing different ponds and runoff areas just for testing for oil, and then you have to clean it up. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's in the workings. And I don't think the taxpayers need to be burdened if you have a fuel spill and somebody just says, let it run into the storm. That's not gonna be good. That was our main concern with that. To have them get some liability and have a program in place so this doesn't happen, and if it does happen, that they will be the one to financially be responsible for the cleanup to make it right. That was what our concern was.
Do we know if there's anything in the
I'm
legal?
gonna call them right now.
All right.
So I imagine that, you know,
I
they
would
would
imagine
have
that they
to
would have a
take
plan in place.
steps, and they're required, I mean, not just by good people law, you know, they're required by some kind of law,
Yeah.
actually, you know, being fuel providers,
But-
that they've got some kind of thing in place that if it starts spilling out, that they have
Hi, Nick,
certain
it's Dan,
obligations.
City of Evansdale.
Well, we're gonna find out.
Very well, thank you. Our planning and zoning, who had reviewed the plan beforehand, had some concerns, more so for the future, kind of DNR mandated, possibly, the stormwater did say the responsibility of maintaining the stormwater, whatever you want to call it, what I would call it. Yeah, detention pond, was the city's responsibility. However, we're curious if you guys have a plan, for, say, if you had hazardous spill, you know, upkeep of the, you know, because of the tractors and trailers for the semis, upkeep and maintenance of your parking lot to avoid hazardous materials going into our retention pond. That is the question on the table.
Usually, let me check the plan here. 'Cause usually we have some sort of clay liner on there. Let me see if there's anything. or if it goes directly in. I don't see a separate retention pond for us.
No, it's actually, you're utilizing the city's retention
Right,
pond.
But yeah, usually we have like if we had a special on-site one, like a clay lined one for any sort of spill.
Okay,
So I think because we don't, it was just going right in there. I would have to confirm with our engineer, I guess, to get a solid answer on that.
okay.
So I don't know if that's,
I mean, do you
know,
guys
the-
like have a hazard, the city has a stormwater hazard mitigation plan. Do you guys have a hazard mitigation plan that you follow at your locations?
I know we use like state-of-the-art technology. We do all the tanks have 30-year warranties. We pull them before the 30 years usually. We don't wait for the state to get involved, so we do pull them before we're legally required to, just to stay on top of it. They all have state-of-the-art monitoring, and then they have emergency shutoffs. So we're very on top of it. But in terms of like, a spill in the parking lot, how could it get to the regional pond? Yeah, I don't know about that. If there's any sort of, if it's all direct drain there.
Okay, is that something that your engineers would be able to answer that question?
Yeah, they definitely would. I can certainly get them involved and get you an answer on that. If you need to table it, you can, or if it's just, hey, we'll do the best we can and work with you guys for approval. Either one, I guess, could work for us, whatever we have to do.
Well, I mean, we can approve it contingent upon that.
Yeah, I think that seems fine to me. Again, this is a little bit out of my ballpark.
Okay.
And, just because it is more of an engineering question, but I can certainly get Trent involved
Okay,
and, circle back with that tomorrow. I don't think it'd be an issue.
okay.
And he might already have something in mind that I don't know about. I don't know exactly. But yeah, if you wanted to make it a contingency for approval, I think that's something we can work through.
Okay. Well, we have
Is that
Nick on
a-
the phone with Quick Trip. Does anybody else have any questions for him?
I don't.
No, thank you.
Justin?
Justin, any questions?
I do not know.
Okay, Nick. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the questions, guys. I will, well, just keep you posted, I guess, and then I can start talking with Trent tomorrow on that.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. Chris, we also, as a city, when we built that retention pond, also have clay as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it is lined in clay. Because I know we had a discussion about that earlier this week, or actually it was last week, but I think we should still take that into consideration and go ahead and approve the resolution and the site plan contingent upon an answer from Quick Trip.
I just had one more question.
Yeah.
So, is the retention pond gonna be like stocked with fish and,
No.
okay?
God,
So, well, no, I mean.
No, right, yeah.
If there is a spill, I mean, then, okay, then is the clay lining keeping it from seeping into the ground and thus into the groundwater? And if so, I mean, we're not killing any fish, we're not killing any creatures. If oil does spill in there, I mean, yeah, you wanna clean it up, obviously. But at least it's not damaging the environment, is my
Yeah.
point, I guess. If we are using the clay lining,
Yeah.
so.
And we have our fire department has been involved in a couple incidences at Flying J. It was something that, they have a plan in place. Our fire department is contacted. We come out there with the materials to, immediately, mitigate the situation.
Yeah, I think as long as there's a plan in place, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important, and we'll get more information on that tomorrow.
So are we dealing mostly here with like runoff as opposed to leaks?
I understand their point of view because, you have, you have older semis, they will, stay there overnight. Oil leaks and such. You could have that at probably a normal quick start too.
Well, yeah, it'll be all over.
To a certain extent, I used to have one out where my truck used to sit out in our parking lot. Now it's been overlaid, so you can't notice, but. Yeah, but yes, we will double check into that, for the safety of the city moving forward. So Resolution 6928, take a motion to approve, contingent upon a favorable response from Quick Trip.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weir,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Number 15, council to consider the Eagles Landing Phase 2 extension of sewer and water. I did place out in front of everyone tonight the quote, and this is change order number 5. One thing that, some of us have discussed is it seems to be, if you're looking at, the original, what we had discussed back in September is extending out the water. And we were actually gonna, install sewer, so those sites would be ready, and those are the new sites. We haven't actually approved the site plan for these yet, but this is, an example of what the new sites is gonna be. One of the things that, was discussed, and I'm totally in, I'm in total agreement, is we haven't had, besides I-380 properties, there has not been one sale that hasn't been multiple properties. So my concern is, you have, this is gonna be stubbed in, this is Eagles Landing Parkway. These are gonna be stubbed in with water and sewer. And, if you sell these 2 lots, that's gonna be fine, they can hook into that. However, it may be 3 across the front. We've had that like with Peterbilt. The thing is, if you put this sewer in the middle, all of a sudden you have this easement. So if someone wanted these 2 lots, you're gonna have to tear out the sewer. So it was kind of considered maybe to stub it in at this area right here, that was all grubbed and cleaned and ready for it, but not actually put the sewer line in. So we asked for a quote, removing just the sewer portion of it. And that was the sanitary sewer manhole, the sewer main trenched, et cetera, and hydraulic seating, et cetera. And that removed like $62,204 from the project. Initially, the project was with engineering, to extend that project, since, we have the contractors there already, was gonna be $199,347.50. Now, if we, take that portion out of it, then that would reduce it down to $137,144. One thing that was mentioned to me that, both by Waterworks, and by the engineer is, you do actually want to loop the water, but again, it's not necessary if you don't think we need to do it right now. And David, if you have any Any thoughts or,
Yeah, just if there's any questions on the benefit of doing one, the other, or neither, or both. So, if there's anything I can provide a little bit more light into. So, I guess one of the benefits that people see from looping water main is water doesn't stagnate at the end of a run, so you can reduce your bacteria growth. It's a redundant system, so if you have a water main break somewhere, you can shut a valve on either side of it and still maintain service to the rest of that loop, only shut down between the valves. And some places, depending on the existing water pressure, it can help with getting an increased pressure as well by looping your system. But yeah, those are some of the benefits on why people recommend you loop your water mains. But ultimately, it's up to you guys in the council of if you see the benefit in this, and given there is a significant cost to it, so.
Well, from that description, is our current infrastructure looped systems?
through our whole city?
Yeah.
There's,
No,
Or is this unique and
There's
because
not-
it's over in
no.
its area by
but they've
itself?
been, the Waterworks has actually been working on that. They've been working on that for what, last,
forever.
okay.
There's, every system has dead ends. That's what they refer them to, where it just stops. That is not something that you want in a perfect world, because as was mentioned, if a system is looped, your incidences of rusty water, for example, are reduced. And that's certainly something that they're working for. So I am extremely in favor of looping.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. I mean, you don't want stagnant water anywhere, so.
And it's not going to get cheaper.
Nope.
Dick, any thoughts, any ideas?
Well, I like the idea of the circulation.
And then what about the sewer? Anybody
Well,
feel like they want to go through with that?
Well, it makes sense to, as you suggested, to just stub it in and hold off.
Do we have any, have you
No.
had any phone calls of
No.
anybody remotely
No.
interested?
I haven't, but this, the whole Eagles Landing has been that. It's been multiple lots and our dual lots, and they're usually, up and down, sideways. They've been everything. They've been up and down, sideways. They
Well,
normally have bought more than one lot.
I think once the lots that we've already sold and people have plans for, once those structures get up and visible, the rest of those lots are gonna go much quicker than the first ones took to sell.
Your thoughts, David?
Yeah, if I could add one thing, the one bright side of that change order 3 is they were able to take that 8-inch pipe and stub it out to the east. And so now, if you decided we're gonna sell those lots separately, you're not gonna have one buyer that takes both the lots, east and west. It's there, you won't have to touch the road, and so there's no additional construction that would be needed in the future if you were to decide to table the sanitary sewer right now, and if they sell separately, then you address that issue at that time, so. So, it's ready to go in the future if it's needed. If it's not needed, like Deanne was saying, having a sewer with an easement really decreases your buildable area, and if you're gonna sell them as one lot, it's a huge deterrent to someone purchasing that, so.
Yeah.
And you said the Realtor actually thought it was a good idea to do it, right?
Well, he did initially, but, once, but they are gonna be built to that lower area.
Yeah.
So the ones on the cross on the bottom, they're gonna have the water, they're gonna have their sewer. So that's gonna be in there, so all those 3 lots across the bottom, they're ready to go. We proved the extension of the project. So,
So, I mean, I like the layout, if we were to stub this in. I think this is a good idea, a good way to go, for all the reasons you listed. I mean, so we don't have to take anything out in the future.
Right.
I'm just curious, when this might have originally been planned to be done, and then why do it now, as opposed to waiting?
Well, we talked about it last September, and actually, we had a motion to move forward with getting the plans and everything ready for that. Is that
Sure.
what you're asking?
Maybe I was asking for more clarification for everyone, not just myself. As far as why we're looking to do this now. as
Oh,
opposed
because
to
the
waiting.
contractors are already there,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Now, if you're stubbing the sewer in, and you also just stub in the water, you can put a hydrant at the end of that water main and flush it,
Correct.
rather than having all the expense to loop the water around. And if somebody buys a huge chunk of that land, once again, you don't have that water main running through what they wanna do.
Yep.
Or if they don't, you could loop it later.
Yep, that's an option as well. This is something that the water main will function as it's currently shown in the plans. It wouldn't be looped, and so you would have potentially needing to go out and flush it. Right now, you may not have the pressures on that far end of the system if you had an industrial client that had a high demand.
Another option would be is have an in-ground valve before that stub, and just shut it off
Yeah,
at the main where you tap in, and then that extension to that new area is just a dead empty line waiting for it to shut off at the main. Then you don't have to flush it,
yeah,
and the rest of the system works as designed.
yeah. There's a lot of options that we could consider on this one, so.
We're actually not approving it tonight. It'll be
absolutely.
on our next agenda for,
Yep.
it was just a discussion
Okay.
item,
Absolutely.
so.
Can I ask you a question while it's up there? About this, tank that you have, where was this station located?
Do you know where the Arby's is right now? So it'd be on the north side of that, kinda under that second row of parking, so.
I lived here my whole life, I never remember the filling station in that area. I've been here 80 years.
Yeah, the DNR's got it marked on their website, and there's some old aerials that show like one area of concrete that has been like differential settling, and so everything else kind of around it sunk in, and that rectangle is where they're saying there's a underground tank. So,
So you mean next to JB Pools, like in between Arby's and JB Pools?
Yeah,
yeah, essentially straight north of the Arby's building, so in their parking right there.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, it's called, I think on the DNR's website, I believe it's Roadrunner 144 is the designation. I'd have to double check that, but I believe that's the designation they gave to that site. Yeah. Yeah.
Matter of fact, there wasn't even anything out there, what, 30 years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think could have been maybe an old gas tank from, cause some of your farms around Iowa got their own gas tanks, so. it could
Yeah.
be from there.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about that too. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what prompted that change, was the DNR
Do they know
flagging
what
us.
size tank that they're saying this was?
Not right off the top of my head, but I can do some more digging and pass that
I mean,
information
there's
back
some
on.
500-gallon tanks supposed, but not much more than that by farmers.
Yeah, I can do some more digging and see if I can find the fine details and pass those along. Yeah.
I think in this, I know we kind of talked about the stubbing in and completing and kind of anticipating what the lots could end up, and I just think there's too much unknown that may limit or deter, someone else to come in and say this is where it's at, or just end up costing the city more money. As much as it may be nice to do complete now with everybody there, I think it's, as much as I'd love to say, yep, we know exactly what's gonna go, let's just do it, save the mobilization fee. I don't think it's feasible or the best decision stub it so that we at least get as much as we can done, but until they start filling in, I think that will dictate then where we can run things without then limiting, somebody looking to buy property there is where I'm at, so. Now, long-term, full vision with everything filled in and completed out there, I agree, just in my discussions with the waterworks, the dead ends, the problems, the things that come up, if we could get it more into a loop system, I would rather see us knowing that it has been such a involved year for the waterworks this last year. I would rather us see it put in as best we can up front as a final verdict. I don't want to necessarily do it now and then have to rip it right back out because somebody else wants a driveway or
Yeah, and the
buried
lot,
line services in a different spot, but I think final vision of it does end up in a closed loop.
thank you, David.
Thank you. Thanks.
Moving on, I'm actually gonna do, would like a motion to, have it on the next agenda with a resolution, and we would talk about what version that we would like to do. Or not.
So moved.
Yeah, that. The second, yes.
That you'd like to move forward with getting just the total price and everything separated out. Okay.
Yeah, if we can do what we can now with them there, again, that mobilization fee is one of the highest single incurrent costs you'll have on a project.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 16, request to approve 3-year 28E law enforcement agreement with the city of Elk Run Heights.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 18 is request from Public Works to purchase lumber and fasteners to replace bridge decking on the 6th Street Bridge. I missed one. I was like,
Say.
where did that one go?
Funny new way to say gun.
17, request from Chief Dean to purchase 14 new gun sets and ammo for the police department in the amount of $16,215.26. We did have some extra in the police budget this year that we could actually move forward and do that. And I also want to state that there was a $9,000 refund from our dispatch that was budgeted. But that is monies that would go towards the purchase of these guns if council so approved to approve.
I move approval of the request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now 18, request from Public Works to purchase lumber and fasteners to replace bridge decking on the 6th Street Bridge in the amount of $24,385.70 with Wheeler Lumber. This is kind of a continuing issue that we have with the 6th Street Bridge. We know it only serves 2 homes. Chris has been working really hard on trying to find alternatives, but the decking is rotting out. And all of a sudden large chunk of it will fall away. It's pretty scary if you're actually on that bridge when this happens, or if you come back later and see that there's a huge gap. Chris has done a lot of research on this. He's looked at different means. We looked at asphalt overlay. Then we had a gentleman who reached out to us and given us the name of this company. They actually do, like, the same decking is already on that bridge. And it'd be a project that actually our Public Works Department would take on. And it'd be kind of like the Lafayette Road lights. They're not going to do it all at once. but they'll do it in a continuous until it's done. It's gonna be one of their projects for the summer.
Years ago, I can remember them talking about a lot of things to eliminate that bridge, and one of them was to build a road back through to these two houses. I don't know why that was not addressed into a reality, but it would say working on that bridge forever, you only do that road that one time, and maybe have to work on it later, but this bridge is gonna cost more and more money. I mean, this is just a touch of it, because sooner or later, the abutment's gonna go bad, you're gonna have to build that whole bridge. Is that something that could be thought about again? I don't remember why, there was a reason why these people up there did not want that, but it was, I think, because they did not want it. But you know, if they start realizing maybe they have to take a little more of that construction, that bridge in their back pockets, they might reconsider that.
There was overwhelming opposition to it.
But now it's costing everybody in the city of Evansdale.
I don't think that bridge is gonna be that expensive.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
How many times have we worked on that bridge now? In the
A few
last
times,
30 years?
pretty minor stuff. Minor stuff, a board or two at a time.
This is $20-some thousand.
Well, he wants to take the bigger approach and replace all of them.
And how many years down the line, they're gonna come in here and they wanna do a bunch more on it?
25, 30 years?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I won't be here to argue that. I guess that takes care of that.
Yeah.
But no, I just could never understand why all the opposition. Why was the reason?
They didn't want the traffic.
Traffic. It'd be a dead end road.
They just felt like there'd be a lot of traffic and, it wasn't worth it to them. And not to mention the expense of building the road. I mean, that's,
Yeah, you're
Can't-
looking at.
Can't imagine you can
what-
build a road for 20 grand.
yeah.
That was long.
No, I mean, we're talking 2 or 3
Well,
million.
we're talking about now, though.
Yeah, I mean,
You're not
that's
gonna
why,
build that road for 20 grand. I mean,
that's why
it's-
we're obviously not looking at that route right
It's
now.
probably a
because-
10x multiplier on that
Get
one.
your shovel. We got some work.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, though, I can remember this was argued at the council many times, and I was under the impression that they said that one last time when they fixed it years and years ago, it was gonna be the homeowner's responsibility to build that again. I know if you look deep enough and you're gonna find that. I really think you will.
I don't think so, John. I was on the council and I had to defend it because it was in my ward, for 2 houses. But, so someone had the great idea, well, let's just buy the houses out.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy those 2 houses, assuming they wanted to sell. Butch K of K Engineering in Waverly did that bridge. He's a engineer and builder. You look at it, it's pretty clever.
I just wish that everybody in the city of Evansdale could reap the harvest of $20-some thousand every so many years to their benefit for not having to go to that bridge.
Yeah, well,
We're all paying for it.
yeah, we're all paying for it, but we're all paying for the road in front of your house. So,
We ain't paying extra for a bridge though. Everybody's paying for that road, not just the
yeah,
people.
well, you can see where that conversation's going.
We'll put in something sparkly in front of your house, John.
You're doing what?
That, we'll put in something sparkly with that extra in front of your house, so.
Probably a bomb.
No, make it twinkle or glow at night or something. Nice and pretty.
Okay.
But didn't that bridge benefit,
That's
a
okay.
lot more people before they closed
Oh,
off
it-
Sixth Street?
Yeah, we voted,
Back in
yes.
my day.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was never put in place just to serve 2 houses.
Yeah, the time for planning this
that's okay.
alternative route should have been when they did that split, I would
Right.
imagine, would have been a lot better. But now we have the city laid out the way we have it, and we have to take care of the roads that we have for everyone, which is the simple fact of it. Yeah, I'd hate to throw good money after bad, but we can't tell them people to leave.
Yeah.
But it,
2 payers are 20. I mean, they still, we have to take care of them.
yeah, it's not that much money. Look what we spend on bridges. Bridges are expensive.
Only 2 people don't
Well, it didn't start out that way, you know. It's not like we built, I mean, I wasn't here, but I assume that they didn't decide to build a bridge just for 2 houses.
Nope.
Right.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're just dealing with it on
We changed
today.
the landscape
Cut off when the
around
highway
it.
went through.
Right.
Yeah. Which wasn't their fault.
No,
No.
nor is it ours.
Chris, what's the expected life on these boards, these 10, 20 years? Okay. So, and I know there's other things that can go on with the bridge, but at least the surface level and what's rotting out, we can get some time out of. Because the other thing, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna take the personal or the emotion piece out of it, and I'm gonna phrase this in a business sense. So I mean, no disrespect to the families and people whose property this is. But from a city's business aspect, I'm also gonna look and go, the people that are in those homes are, I believe, are not young families, correct?
That's correct.
So it is possible that these homes, while not necessarily need to be sold or bought out, may not be anything when the individuals there no longer live in them, whether they pass or they move or whatever, that somebody may not move back into them. And this being an issue to say, hey, this is a bridge, kind of a weird area type of thing. So just truly looking at it from the logistics of that, putting a little money into it, the problem may help remedy itself. May not, but it may help remedy itself as the residents that are there, just, we'll call it age out, you know, as they move on or pass, so.
Or a young
That's a
family
nice
can move
thought.
there.
Well, I'm saying just if we're trying to look at this as far as, do you look at building a road, do you look at completely redoing the bridge or anything? We may have this option come up to us because it will be an undesirable place to move back into for a young family, given especially the bridge issues, and it won't be something that we, as the city, may have to mess with in the future. Because it is, I mean, just they're not necessarily newer homes, they're not areas, and it's not a desirable property to try to get back in there because of how remote it is, at least in my opinion. You'd have to kind of build in the roads and
But
stuff in the
that's why
back.
it's desirable.
I was just gonna say, it makes it appealing to a certain segment of population.
Exactly.
You can be remote and be right in town.
Sure, sure, that's fair,
Yeah.
that's fair.
But if we're, not wanting to take the risk of our emergency vehicles going in there for any reason, fire truck, ambulance, whatever, it behooves us to make that bridge as safe as we possibly can, as soon as we can. And lots of times, older structures are built much better than the modern day thing. So just the fact that it's an old bridge, in my mind, doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't merit keeping maintained.
Yeah.
And I don't think any state law would let us say, you property owners now have to bear the expense of this bridge to your property. Just like you can't make citizens become responsible for their street. So it's a city function.
I'll take a motion to approve, please.
Can I ask you one thing? Is there by any chance a weight embargo on that now for our fire trucks and stuff for order?
Is there what?
An embargo that?
No, there's not.
Okay, so they can go with it.
I move approval of the request.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Budget. We've had many meetings. There hasn't been any changes. One small, minor change was to the library regarding electrical. So she's actually has, the librarian actually has 3 people coming out this week. So we're gonna know. We're gonna know within, probably by the end of this week, what that is actually gonna add to that budget. And we will adjust accordingly. Other than that, I don't think there's been no change. There was, I guess, one for the police department since our last meeting, and that was radars. And radars are, have to be replaced, I don't know what their lifespan is. Okay. Okay. So they have to be replaced. We were, they were able to get a grant, to help cover the cost. We did buy one radar this year. And then we can also go forward and buy one more. We're budgeting it in such a way that, it's gonna go under other equipment, under 177. So we're gonna, that's like when we get refunds for, well, dispatch contract, we get, miscellaneous revenue or what have you. But we're gonna start setting that aside in that revenue stream for 177, so we know that that's what's, it's gonna be used for. And that's gonna be these little equipment purchases that we've been going through, every year or so. So I did add, as far as the revenue stream, 2,000, for that, radar, and as far as the expense, it was 3,193. Other than that, there hasn't been any changes. I think the other equipment that we budgeted for, fire, I added 50,000 into that because of the side-by-side. It was gonna take 6 months to get that. So I do need to increase that by 5.
You say 55, right?
Yeah, 55.
And that was just a carryover from this year.
That's a carryover from this year, right? And I have reached out to some of the local foundations, and that is, I didn't get a hold of them yesterday, but will tomorrow, because that is something that they like to fund. So that's good, recreational or fire equipment, which is kind of both, with all of our trail system in the city. Anything that, as far as general fund, I know that we've went through that, I think 3 times now. This is the 3rd. Any questions regarding that at all?
I don't have any.
No. I think the only thing that we discussed for roads, bridges, and sidewalks is, engineering fees. And it's just gonna be a carryover from the Lafayette project. They are expecting to have it 80% completed by July. So, but they'll still have 20% of work they'll need to do. That is included in this budget for roads and streets. There wasn't anything too fascinating as far as, in their budget. We did put 105,000 in for street maintenance. 105,000 doesn't go very far, but with the Lafayette project, that's kind of through this end of this year and a little bit into next year. So that's why we set those funds aside, is for those major projects like that. Debt service, that's just paying down our GO bonds. That comes from revenues like Eagles Landing, for example. All the businesses and such that are gonna be built out there, that'll be that revenue stream, and that'll give us the ample funds to pay back that debt. Capital projects, like I just stated, just basically Eagles Landing and Lafayette Road. There'll be, at one point, we'll be getting the federal aid. They've already applied actually for one piece of that, our engineers have. We had talked about beginning to do 20% of our line cleaning for our wastewater infrastructure. we did have that in the budget. Nothing else really stand out. We do have some lift station maintenance that was on that original memo of things that, you know, we're gonna be needing to do. And I talked about that as far as a couple pumps that needed to be replaced. Questions, comments, ideas? Our levy rate is gonna stay the same.
And what is that?
Right off the top of my head, I think it's 7.97488. Scary that I know that,
Just
but
from the hip.
yeah,
Just off the top of your head.
just off the top of my head.
So we've obviously seen a little savings here on the legal fees, so.
Yeah,
So
It-
does
it
the
comes and
attorney
goes.
Review the minutes, is that what?
did what?
Does the attorney review the minutes? Is that what we pay him for?
No. The city attorney?
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're involved in a lot of things. I mean, they're involved in ordinances, right now they're reviewing the rental program. You know, to make sure that we're doing everything legally and we're not, you know, and we're, I mean, we don't work with them every day, but, you know, it's the city attorney, clientele their office is, they have someone that helps us with the development agreements for Eagles Landing. They have people that help us with our code enforcement and nuisance abatement, like when we have to go to court. Still haven't heard on when that's been rescheduled, John. They help us with, we've had different residents or whatever that we've had to seek legal advice for.
The boarding house issue.
The boarding house issue, I mean, yeah. Right,
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with all that, but,
yeah,
I just thought they reviewed our minutes. They
No.
used to, I thought, but.
no. Did I leave it out? Is that why you're questioning it? I'm like,
No.
no, okay. It did increase it by 5,000 this year, for this next fiscal year. No, but I do need to look at that. Because that actually did go down.
Yeah, I thought that was a good sign unless they're
Yeah, no,
not doing,
I think it just got
Code
carried
enforcements
over.
and Ordinances and things we keep throwing
Yeah.
that direction.
No, I think it just got carried over, cause you know, I'm doing a total and I'm carrying it across, cause it's the same as where we were at that moment. Thank you for catching that. Cause I was actually, had it somewhere in my notes to increase that to 25,000. So, as far as our plan for, we could discuss the budget at the next meeting again. We will need to, I'll have like a review, cause it has to be sent to the county auditor, and the county auditor has to send it out to all the residents, in Blackhawk County. So all those have to be listed at a certain, they all have to be to the county auditor by the 5th of March. We can't have it's kind of weird, but we can't have our public hearing until after that, which absolutely makes no sense to me. Because, you want your taxpayers to be able to see that, what you're sending to the auditor or to the county auditor to send out to them, what our tax rate is. So anyway, that's not the way it is. So, that will be sent out, actually, it has to be sent out by the 15th of March, and then we actually hold our public hearing at the end of March, beginning of April, and then we can approve our budget. So, it's
Process.
It's a process. It's about transparency. You know, it just feels like they made the process a little bit longer to me. I don't know.
Without a doubt,
Huh?
without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's less transparent to our constituents, but that is their process, and it's very lined out in Iowa code. I don't have anything else. On mayor council reports, I just want to say that we have been having some difficulty with commercial landscaping companies utilizing the Yardway Center. So we're kind of going back and forth right now with our city attorney and coming and doing some code, updated code. Somewhere along the line, it always was like 6 inches at the Yardway Center. The sign says 12 inches. Our website said 6 inches was the maximum size of a tree branch or a tree, you know, not a tree stump, but a tree that you could bring to the Yardway Center. Well, our code doesn't state any of that. You could look at every newsletter from the first newsletter that we ever had, and it always said since 6 inch maximum for a tree. So anyway, it's not that. It's not. There didn't state it at all in our code. So we are going to work on updating that, and we're going to work out a process for commercial companies to build if they're taking care of Sandy's yard and they want to bring the brush or, you know, tree trimmings or whatever down to the Yardway Center, it's going to be a process. It's not just going to be anybody coming off the interstate or driving here after they've been landscaping in another city and bringing their yard waste here. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Well, so I just wanted, you touched on the ordinance, the rental ordinance.
Yes,
You know, before we got too far down that road,
yeah,
I'd like to see us get input from landlords,
okay,
because I think there could be a lot of potential changes
Okay.
and suggestions. One landlord I talked to just, you know, dismissed it completely, but that's, you know, to be expected, I guess. But I guess I would hate for us to put a whole lot of energy into it and then find out there's a huge amount of resistance from the landlords.
And that was brought up, and I'm with Dick, and it's, as I shared a story, I think it was after the last meeting with a couple of the individuals that come up to talk to me. I learned the hard way of thinking that we were doing the right thing and that this should fit in anything, and putting it all together and writing it all up in ordinance and putting it in front of council, and it was just anarchy against it. And I'm like, well, I learned a valuable lesson. I didn't talk to any of the people that it would directly affect and what they felt was a negative. Now, it's not. They're all over. It was the item that we were looking at, so it's very common now, but just how I approached it, I did it wrong. So, not that, and it was stated at the last meeting that, well, if we're gonna give the landlords, we need to give the renters. I guess I feel that I think we definitely know, at least I understand what the renters feel that they can't get, or what they're not getting, and what their, you know, grievances are. But I also wanna make sure the opposite, and it was brought up very clearly, that it can be a bad renter too. So you might have bad landlords, but it can also be a bad renter. And if we already then further tie the landlord's hands to where they can't get somebody who's not paying them out or evicted, and we just tie it up for, you know, now months or years later, well, that's not gonna be very popular as well. And that's wrong, in my opinion, that, you know, if somebody's on their wrong and the landlord's trying to do the right thing and they're not getting paid for it, then okay. So I'm with Dick. The other item that got brought up after the meeting, it might even been during the meeting, but there is an association, like a landlord, Blackhawk landlord's tenant. That was the other one I'd like to reach out to, and, you know, whether we have an actual quorum and have to publish it, or if it's just a few of us, you know, 2 of us meet or something to kind of go in, I think that'd be worth it as well. I would like to see at least kind of that first approved draft back, so that's what I was waiting on, Dick, where I was going is, the attorney's got it, hey, this looks good, it doesn't look too much, not overkill, and then here's kind of where, here's our starting point.
Yeah,
Without
yeah, no,
dumping too much.
we definitely need a starting point.
Yep.
But what you're saying is we need to have all the shareholders involved, and that's really the point, I guess.
Yep, and that's, we have the municipal housing authority, hopefully that can advocate as well. We've got other ones in, you know, even if it's Operation Threshold, to say, hey, this is what we're really finding for housing for our people.
Maybe the principal of Pointer.
So, yep. But yes, I'm with Dick as well. I don't want to approach this and push an ordinance through without getting the input back from the other side as well, because I can see it. And me not being a landlord, I could see missing something, and all of a sudden, way down the road in some sort of court legal battle, it just really became a huge
And that's
hardship.
really what we want to avoid.
Yep. So yeah, I've had excellent points on both sides. I am 100% behind that we need to do something, knowing that our current ordinances were not enough. We owe it to both sides. You know, we owe everybody, if they're paying rent or paying whatever, you know, you gotta have electricity, you gotta have heat, you gotta have hopefully clean enough facilities if you're a responsible renter. I would put it that way. If you're the cause of why everything's broken, well, that's a different story.
Definitely.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And one of the biggest parts of that ordinance that appeals to me is just the mechanism that allows Steve to enter the property. We're not even going into standards, quality standards, but the mechanism, I mean, we will, but the mechanism to set that up is what's important, I think.
Right. Yeah. I'm in agreement there. Anything else, council?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?